thought I was ready and I wasn't. I still had to do this. Okay. Look, this is real. This is authentic. Here we are. I'm Emil Guillermo. Emil Amok to you. Man, and I need to warn you now that every time our internet goes out, that is the digital divide in action. And that's why we need infrastructure. We need digital infrastructure. We need everyone to be not necessarily wired. Well, wired in a sense, wireless, good Wi-Fi, worth its weight in gold. But yesterday's show, 138, was kind of it shows you the kind of show we have. I mean, it's me and a, a webcam on Facebook and shooting it out live streaming to YouTube on the Emil Guillermo YouTube channel. We're shooting out to all the different Facebook sites just as a public service because this is Emil Mx Takeout. It's my takes on all things considerable. The micro talk show of the AAPI, I like to say, and the AAXs. I mean, really, this is a show where we talk about us like we matter. Although you don't have to be Asian American, you don't have to be friends, allies, accepted. We speak English. We don't speak in funny little languages that you'd say, oh, what are they saying? That was always the thing about the Filipinos. You go in the Filipino ethnic media, they couldn't get any advertising because all their media is in English because you got a country with 7,200 islands in the archipelago. The only thing that unites them is they got a different dialect for every island. And the only thing that unites them is the English language. So when you put together a Filipino newspaper or a publication in America, it's got to be in English. I mean, my mom and dad, one was Ilocano, the other was Tagalog. They never talked to each other, except in the good way. In English, like this, they talk like this. But that's how come I know all these words, but I know the accent more than I know the words. Anyway, a long explanation for why you don't have to be Asian American to listen to this show. It's just that, hey, we got an Asian American host, which is a big deal. And when I was in broadcasting, that was a big deal. Like when I was at NPR, I'd sneak in a Filipino story when I could. I mean, Filipinos were in the news back then, but it was important that if you were at the table saying, what stories are we covering? Are we going to cover this Marcos demonstration? Are we going to cover these Filipinos here? Are we going to cover? If you weren't at the table, you never got covered. You were invisible. So anyway, now that I'm in my internet years, broadcasting has been democratized and I can talk about us like we matter and I could make it this could be a general show. It could, instead of a micro talk show of AAPI and AAXs, it just could be a micro talk show because it's small. Because I don't need 10 million, 20 million, I don't need a million people listening to this. I just need you out there. And we're live. We're live at 2:00, Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific. I say live, I do this live because, it's dangerous. And because I don't feel like editing. I just leave all the, like if I drop something, I'll like stop and pick it up. I'll leave the ums and the ahs, and this is the full show. And then later you can see it on amok.com. You can see it on, if you're watching live, you're on Facebook, but you can always watch the replay on Facebook at emilguillermo.media. All sorts of ways or amok.com. That's where you can see it. We put up the replays there and you can put it on your phone. And the ideal way to listen to this is to just, you put it on and used to go for about 30 minutes at a time and just like put it on and then mow the lawn or do your dishes, have it on like radio. It kind of works that way. You're in your cubicle and say, oh, what is Emil ranting about? Now, I must correct you. I'm not ranting. You say, well, what is Emil agitated? No, no. What is Emil sharing today with us? And then, and then 40 minutes pass. Oh, what's the next episode? This is show 139. Can you imagine? I've done 139 of these because there's a lot to talk about. So, for example, today, I finally got posted my regular ALDEF, Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund, post on its website, aaldef.org/blog. And it's really about the recall, the California. Do you recall the recall? I mean, I know it's Friday. They haven't counted all the votes. The last I checked, the no recall, was up by about 2.5 million votes, and looks like it's well on its way to just crushing the folks who wanted to recall Gavin Newsom. And Larry Elder is still, leading the also rans in question 2, but question 2 is moot, doesn't count. You got to get question 1 to be yes in order for question 2 to be relevant. So I guess you can say the leading irrelevant candidate right now is Larry Elder. I've been waiting since Tuesday. I did not post immediately after the election because I wanted to see if Larry Elder lived up to his claim that, hey, this election was rigged. Because certainly the rigmeister himself, Donald Trump, said, hey, California's rigged. Okay, yeah. Here it is Friday. I wanted to call Elder and Trump's bluff. If they got the goods, come out and present the goods that something was rigged. But here's what I was thinking. The election was rigged. The election was rigged against the Republicans because Donald Trump and Larry Elder believed the election was rigged. That is why. I mean, they were out there in front of everyone saying how it was rigged before, Elder less so than Trump. But this is the truth. Larry Elder may have saved California. Larry Elder did not want to save California. He wanted to save his sorry tail from whatever obscurity. But Larry Elder, by running, may have saved California. I say that because when I talked to Gavin Newsom about 4 weeks ago, it was a coin flip whether or not he was going to win or lose. He hadn't begun to fight, so to speak, but he was out there, he was speaking, and the polls were not moving in his direction. What got it to change? What got it to change was his saying, here's what I'm running against. I'm running against Larry Elder. I'm running against, because he's the front runner. I'm running against the Republicans, the national Republicans. And then when he got Biden out here saying Larry Elder is a Trump clone, it became clear. Newsom was running against a Trump proxy, and that is what got people out. There is no real love for Gavin Newsom, even among San Franciscans. Although San Franciscans politically, they'll bite their tongue and say, yeah, Gavin's a good guy. Having covered Newsom, having been in the Bay Area during his time as both a supervisor and as a mayor, look, I am fairly objective when it comes to politicians. I was not a Newsom lover. In fact, we just have a professional relationship. I ask questions, he answers them. I'm not particularly nice, but I'm not particularly mean. We're respectful. I kind of like Newsom. I like I said, the last time I saw Newsom was at a funeral for a Filipino American politico who helped fundraise and helped gather candidates for varying districts in Northern California. Alice Bullos, right? She was really the godmother of Filipino American grassroots politics. And Gavin showed up at her funeral. And when I saw him there, it just told me, hey, he's different. I can go to a press conference and I could say, hey, Gavin, And he'd say, "What do you want?" And we can talk. So I'm covering this whole thing now, and I'm saying I see him 4 weeks ago. I saw him as kind of weary, but as soon as they turned the volume on, we're running against Elder. The people who are kind of indifferent toward Newsom, and there are a lot who say, "Yeah, Newsom, yeah, pretty boy, mannequin democracy," you know, they they when they heard Larry Elder was the front runner and Larry Elder was a threat, they showed up not to save Newsom's butt, but to save California. Hence, Larry Elder has saved California from Larry Elder. That's tremendous. Thank you, Larry Elder. The last good thing you'll ever do in your life. I've seen what your ex-wife has said about you. But, Larry Elder has no business being a politician. Larry Elder has no business being the governor. In fact, I think what Larry Elder is going to do, I think, this whole thing about, oh, I'm going to replace Dianne Feinstein if she retires with a conservative. Myself, I think Elder really would rather be senator because senators, what do senators do? They just go around give speech. They don't really do as much as governors, truth be told. But they're there on their perch, and they're there, the 100, people of power. I think Larry Elder wants to be a senator. I don't think he wants to govern. He doesn't want to be a governor. And I think he was waiting for Dianne Feinstein to resign so that he could say, "Look, that's the job I want. I want her job." Anyway, more on Larry Elder. In an upcoming column. Because the more I think about this, I've been waiting for Elder to say, "Yeah, the election was rigged. I rigged it. I rigged it so Newsom could win." Because if I wasn't there, no one would have come out to vote. I'm Larry Elder, the black conservative from South Central that the blacks don't love, that the whites embrace, except for my ex-wife. Uh, the Republicans love me because they can hold me up as their human shield. But he didn't deliver, not for the Republicans. He delivered for Gavin Newsom. Boy, Emil, that's kind of, I don't want to say that's brilliant analysis, but who is saying that except Emil Guillermo? I mean, I'm saying it because, like I said, I know the talk show wars, having been one. And I know Newsom and the San Francisco machine politics, having covered it, in the 80s and the 90s, both in the mainstream side and also on the ethnic side. And those of you who have read my ALDEF columns, Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund.org, I got a few, not disagreements, but I've knocked heads with Kamala Harris on an occasion or two, not many, but we had a thing about what she did about some Asian Americans who got beat up in the sunset in San Francisco. I've written about it. Go to the Aldef blog and see that. But frankly, I think this recall is going to catapult Gavin Newsom to the place where he's always wanted to be. He's always wanted to be presidential timber. And now he's the governor. And now Larry Elder has positioned Newsom as, okay, Newsom is far right, correct? Where's Newsom? Newsom is here kind of hanging out with the progressives, but with a lot of room over here in the middle. And that attracts a lot of voters. That's why, after the recall, Gavin Newsom sitting pretty. Mannequin democracy. It works because you pit Larry Elder scaring people off, saying, "Oh, we don't want Trumpism. We don't want a Trump proxy." We're going to save the state. And they did. They showed the nation that Republicans could be principled and still be Republican because they voted for Newsom, not Larry Elder. Those rank and file, I'm a Republican lemming and I'm going to vote for our man because he's going to win for us. He's going to win. He's going to be the savior of the. Now they make it racial, the white race, right? I think Elder was there to show that, hey, we're kind of diverse. We got one or two black guys and one or two Hispanic guys. All those Proud Boys are, a lot of the Proud Boy leaders are Hispanic. But I just think that after post recall, Gavin Newsom has a lot of problems yet. Hasn't the fires are sort of dwindling now. The Caldor fire is more under control, like 70% under control. The air is better. It's going to rain this week. Still in the 90s in the valley, but the lines are now clearly drawn. The valley is less red, more, even less purple, more bluish. The coast, blue, up and down from Humboldt down to San Diego. And the traditional red parts, Orange County, Riverside County to the south or to the east of LA, the nose won. The nose won over there. So there's a lot of people who are just smiling because, hey, the world didn't go to hell on Tuesday night in California. Democracy still works. The election process, no one can say, oh, mail-in ballots don't work, although they're still counting them. That's why maybe we haven't heard from Larry Elder because they have 30 days to certify and mail-in ballots that have come postmarked as of the 14th. They got to have that magic post date. They still get counted. But 2.5 million is a heck of a lot of votes to make up. And 2.5 million, that's the albatross of Larry Elder around the GOP. He's the one. Larry Elder delivered that 2.5 million vote deficit. And I just think that Gavin Newsom, he can finish out the term and look forward to maybe President Newsom. I'm just putting it out there. That's what he wanted all along. Okay. On my Aldef column, I say, look, democracy still works in California. The voting system still works. And look, everyone should be adopting all across the country all the things that California is doing. Mail-in ballots, right? I don't think we have 24-hour voting in California, but we do have same-day registration and voting. These are all points that some states, and there are 18 states that have passed something like 30 some laws to restrict voting. These are the kind of things that they want stricken out, but they should be put in so democracy is easier to do. I mean, democracy should be easy because, when you pick up a sample ballot, and I happen to have one right here, these ballots are not that easy. Well, this is fairly easy, right? It's just a name, check it off. Just got to make sure you mark off each one. But here's where it's tricky. The language. Oh my God, someone's got to diagram a sentence so what the heck am I trying to do? When you look at how some of these are worded. Shall Gavin Newsom be recalled, in parentheses, removed? So in case you didn't know what recalled was, in case someone said, oh, a recall, Ronald Reagan couldn't recall, so maybe I should vote no here. Donald Trump during the impeachment said he couldn't recall, so maybe I should vote. Anyway, it's hard enough to try to figure out all this stuff. I know. You can figure out Netflix. You can figure out all the other apps. Voting is hard. They should make the the mechanical part of voting easy, and they should make you know they should make trying to figure out what you know if I vote yes, am I voting no? If I vote no, am I voting yes? That's the kind of thing that politicos do, and that's what also should be made easier. But anyway, that's part of the problem or part of the threats to our democracy. The biggest threat is you have the Trump quote unquote playbook challenging every vote, challenging every election, saying, I didn't lose, I really won. The January 6th big lie. And we got to fight against that. We got to fight against that. Got to fight against that. We got to fight against voting rights changes, restrictions to your voting rights, and we also have to fight. One other thing I didn't mention in my column: the placement of political players in charge of elections so that the vote results can be more easily manipulated. That should be looked at so that it's not in the hands of a politico, but of professionals. So it's non-political, so it's objective, so we can truly get what needs to be done. Not, oh, there's the Republican Party guy and he's the head of the vote count. We should watch out for those things. Anyway, the threat to our democracy is still real even after the recall. Check out my ALDEF column, aaldef.org/blog. I was going to just talk a little bit about the recall, but I mentioned the big lie, January 6th. So I guess we should go into the J6 thing because that's a real thing on Saturday. Imagine this. You have Trump being kind of embarrassed by the recall because nationally it sends the message that Trumpism isn't nearly as strong as he thinks, right? And now, so that happened on Tuesday. Saturday, tomorrow, today, as I'm talking to you on Friday, we got Justice for J6. I have to admit, when I saw Justice for J6, I thought it was like Justice for Jesus. Even my dog was wondering about that. Are they talking about Justice for Jesus? No, Justice for J6. Oh, January 6th. I thought, does that mean, are there 6 people named J in jail? No, there's more than 600 arrests and a lot of convictions. Look, it's important that Justice for J6 gets out there to protest peacefully, calmly. But I don't know. I think it's even odds that maybe it goes crazy. And I think they're just crazy enough to start it. I don't think anyone out there who opposes Justice for J6 is going to start any trouble. The police are now prepared. They've got the fences up. They're armed for bear, as they say. But they're not. And even though they suffered losses, it's not a war. They're not going to fight. They're there to defend and protect the government and government property. So let's hope and pray that Justice for J6 does its thing. First Amendment, all for that. Let them do what they do. Run around like, I don't know, insurrectionist shaman. I don't know. As long as they're peaceful, I don't care what they do. Hold up a sign. Now, what's the Asian American angle, Emil? Smarty pants. Well, I'm glad you asked. Because if you know something about your Asian American history, you know that the right wing newspaper, it's not just right wing, it's far right. The Washington Times was started by the Reverend Sun, I always screw up his middle name, Sun Myung Moon, the Moonies, right? And it's now run by his wife, Hak Jahan, and they were a real power couple in Washington with that Unification Church. and they'd have on their Burger King hats. They weren't really Burger King hats, but because they're rich enough to not have Burger King hats. They're rich enough to have actual crowns and robes, and it's a church. Now it's been described as a Christian fascist unification church. Christian fascist, not necessarily my choice of words, but I think, you know, if the crown fits, if the Burger King crown fits, here's the thing about this church, the so-called Moonies, right? The founder of the church, Sun Myung Moon, he founded the Washington Times, which still exists. They have an offshoot called the Unification Peace Federation, and it's led by Moon's son. And even though Moon's son is somewhat estranged from the church, he's still out there. He's still out there, and he's out there. He was out there on January 6th. He was out there rallying, and I just think that Sean Moon is the guy's name. That's his son, founder of the World Peace and Unification Sanctuary, an explicit pro-Trump sect of the Moonies. Now, I guess the privilege of family, right? You get to start your own sect. He personally had a contingent at the Capitol on January 6th. Is Sean Moon and the World Peace Unification Sanctuary going to be there? Let's hope so, because then it truly will be a diverse crowd, including Asian Americans. And look, represent, right? You just want to say, hey, buddy, represent, buddy. Sean Moon, Moonies. Of course, just in the spirit of free speech. I mean, I disavow everything he says and everything he stands for, except I believe there's a God. I'll grant him that there's a God, but Unification Church not my style, not my style. But I'm glad. I'm just saying, Sean Moon will likely be there. He was there on January 6th, and so for justice for J6, you bet he'll probably be there, and you can bet there will be friends of the Filipino broom man. Remember the Filipino broom man? He was out there waving his Filipino broom in the Capitol. His buddies will be there. We got Cesar Sayoc, who's in jail, I think, right now. But, there's a lot of Filipinos who are pro-Trump. They'll be out there. So they're expecting about 500 people. I would like to see diversity at that thing. That would be a good thing. It would show that, hey, democracy is strong when we allow those voices to speak. But democracy must be stronger, as in protecting the peace, if those folks get out of line. So let's hope that they don't get out of line. That's not fascistic. That's just, hey, keeping the peace. You can carry your sign and say your illogical stuff and say insurrection. We were just peaceful protesters on January 2nd. Look, we saw what happened. We know it wasn't peaceful. We know that lie is part of the big lie about the November election, Trump's big lie. And that, I think, ultimately is the message for all the country. It's lie after lie. We know it's not the truth. And yet good Republicans are standing by saying, yeah, those are Republicans. Those are, maybe if they caught a whiff of Sean Moon and his group, they'd say, oh, do we want to be, oh yeah, they would want to be part of that. I mean, they're running the Washington Times, for goodness sake. So anyway, let's hope it's peaceful. Let's hope that there's some kind of exchange. The January 6 folks, the J6 folks will say, we're lying, he's lying. And reasonable people will look at him and say, yeah, you're lying. We know it was an insurrection. We know it wasn't a peaceful protest on January 6th. We know you were out there trying to steal the election. And we know that Donald Trump didn't win in November, which is why you're trying to steal the election back for Trump. That was a theft. That didn't happen because democracy prevailed. And despite the horror and the terror of that day, they couldn't decertify the vote. Thank goodness. All right. I'm going to do a quick news glean. This is important just because, I come on at 2:00 Pacific for a reason, and that's because the news usually breaks. All the news that you're going to see Saturday morning, you can get now when you're with me during this, I guess it's a live stream podcast. Here's an important story. FDA panel recommends Pfizer booster for people 65 and over. So all you Medicare cats. And let's see, in the old days, you'd say cats and chicks, but I guess you can't say that anymore. All you Medicare folks of whatever gender, if you have Pfizer, the Pfizer booster, 65 and older, recommended. That was one of the things. I mean, they're going to have different messages on this throughout as more data comes in, but that's the data now that even though they're against boosters for people 16 and over, if you're 65 and older, go to it. Seniors go crazy. Senior special on the Pfizer booster. Now, it turns out Moderna's a little better. So if you have the Moderna, I don't know, like some people I know, then you're good. You're good. That was good. But, the Pfizer, you need a booster if you're 65 or older, and the FDA has given the green light there. This is a sad story, breaking story. Pentagon says drone strike that killed 10. You know about that. We talked about it during what's the opposite of a handover? It was a retreat. It wasn't necessarily a surrender, but when we withdrew, drone strike killed 10. Pentagon saying it's a mistake. It's painful. And I think we just need some time. It's been about 3 weeks, right? But we need even more time to really consider what this really means. I mean, it's hurtful. If you're a pacifist, look, I am a pacifist. I'm not for war. Lover, not a fighter, right? Had a low draft number, didn't go to Vietnam. I just think if you're a pacifist at heart, you're just against all this. Drone strike, a lot of people say, oh, well, we love drone strikes. That's the push button war. We don't have to get involved. We just send the thing out and boom, we get our target. Yeah. But what if you're wrong? They never talk about that. Well, what if you're wrong? Well, they were wrong. Pentagon admits it. And I just don't know what the ramifications are going to be, except, we'll have congressional hearings. 7 children are among those killed. This is on August 29th. And previously, here's the thing. This is part of the pattern, the American pattern to lie about Afghanistan. All throughout, we know over the last 20 years, they painted a rosier picture. Oh, everything's all right. It was not all right. They always lied to make it seem like things were better on the ground, always lied to make sure that we thought that, hey, we got it under control. We didn't. This is a drone strike. 7 children killed. The driver of the car that was hit worked for a U.S. aid group, had nothing to do with ISIS. Wrong person, wrong time, in the wrong white Corolla. I'm a big Toyota fan, and God, that must make Toyota feel good to know that, God, they got to mention the brand. Maybe it was a Chevy Volt or something. Anyway, sad story. And it's not done in terms of the repercussions. It'll continue, no doubt. But it's something we got to reckon with And frankly, in the last two weeks or so since the withdrawal, I mean, I know some people have shed some tears for the women who've been left behind. I know some people have shed some tears for people who were left behind, but some of them have gotten out now. The women who are Afghan cannot get out unless they find a circumstance that will allow them to leave. It's sad, but how many people here in America really have thought about the Afghans in the way they should subsequent to that August 31st pullout? I mean, we're still not done reckoning. And then, of course, I mean, we had 9/11 in there too. There was a lot of feels, reckoning around that date as well. This is going to be a hangover with us for a while. But the more truth, we need the truth. We need to know. You say it was innocent. You say, we hit the right people. Oh, now you say we hit the wrong people. Okay, come clean. Let's know the truth so we know exactly how bad we need to feel. Because something tells me we're going to have to feel pretty bad. Uh, this isn't necessarily a fun story, but it's a story. Manhattan restaurant hostess was assaulted after asking to see proof of vaccine for 3 tourists. The police said, I'm sensitive to this because I know a lot of young people in New York right now, and some of them have had to take jobs as hostess. And, they're just doing their job, masked up, exposed to COVID. They got all these people from different areas. It's one thing if you had native New Yorkers going out and having fun and doing that, but here you have people I think the people here were from Texas at this one restaurant thinking, the unvaxxed, right? Thinking that the world is their oyster, and they assaulted this hostess. It shows that I just can't believe that. Well, I can believe it happens. So where's our common sense? Where's that respect for one another? Where's that sense of compassion? Compassion and empathy. Empathy being, I feel, I kind of know, what you're feeling. Compassion is, I'm willing to suffer with you. I've suffered with you. I know what that's like. We need to get up from nothing to empathy to that higher level of compassion so that maybe we could just be kinder to each other. You think? I don't know. I just think that would help. Uh, you look at all the news. I got the Wall Street Journal here. I subscribe to the Wall Street Journal because you got to know what capitalism is thinking, right? I mean, interesting stories about. Here's a guy at Carvana. Carvana CEO's dad makes 3.6 billion from selling stock. He sells stock, and that the twist is he still controls part of the company because they've set it up in this way. This is like capitalists telling other capitalists all the different schemes that people are doing so they can do the schemes themselves. That's why you get the Wall Street Journal. And not that I'm going to do these schemes, but I'm saying, God, those greedy MFs. Anyway, that's not the story that grabbed me on the front page. Can you guess which one? First of all, Afghanistan. One thing about Afghanistan reporting, and I guess it's really hot there now, but I guess this is called a tunic. I think, boy, why can't we get in hot areas like where I am now in California? Why can't we get away with wearing that? Would they say, oh, are you going to a toga party? That's not a toga. Are you wearing your caftan? No, that's a tunic, right? Oh, are you wearing your, is it, that's your, what's the guy's name? You can't touch this, that guy. I forget. God, the rapper, his name escapes me now. Hammer. That's a Hammer Time. It's sort of a Hammer Time look, but it's more, yeah, like it's almost like not priest. That would be a weird look, right? Oh, you're dressed up like a priest and you're with all these young boys. What's wrong with you? No, this is a young boy dressed up in a red, not smock, but it's a. Anyway, that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about in the Wall Street Journal, Facebook staff flags criminals, but company often fails to act. I mean, they have been doing a bang up job on the Facebook files story here in the Wall Street Journal. I mention this because I use Facebook. I mean, I put this out. It's on Facebook. I'm also on YouTube. But the thing about this is that it shows that, oh, I marked another story. I didn't mark this. I got to read this because it shows that Facebook knows that bad stuff is happening, but they don't do anything about it. In January, a former cop turned Facebook investigator posted an all staff memo on the company's internal message board. It began Happy 2021 to everyone and then proceeded to detail a new set of what he called learnings. Learnings. This is learning. The biggest one, a Mexican drug cartel was using Facebook to recruit, train, and pay hitmen. The behavior was shocking and in clear violation of Facebook rules, but the company didn't stop the cartel from posting on Facebook or Instagram, the photo sharing site owned by the company. Scores of internal Facebook documents reviewed by the Wall Street Journal show employees raising alarms about how its platforms are used in some developing countries where its user base is already huge and expanding. They also show the company's response, which in many instances is inadequate or nothing at all. Employees flagged that human traffickers in the Middle East use the site to hire women into abusive employment situations in which they were treated like slaves or forced to perform sex work. They warned that armed groups in Ethiopia use the site to incite violence against ethnic minorities. They sent alerts to their bosses on organ selling, pornography, and government action against political dissent, according to the documents. Facebook removed some pages, though many more operate openly, according to the documents. So, there's a lot of news out there. And you see what CNN and MSNBC and all the other channels, Fox, you see what they harp on. And right here on the front page, top of the fold, underneath our little Afghan tunic wearing boy, Facebook staff flags criminals, but company often fails to act. Documents show alarm about what is on the site outside US where user numbers are huge. And when people buy stuff, you notice how many foreign people are buying stuff, when people place ads. I this is one of the things when you have a platform like Facebook. At some point, these guys, Facebook has to be more responsible. In some ways, I see me as the responsible player on Facebook. You got anti-vaxxers spreading lies. I'm saying, hey, get vaxxed. You got people spreading lies about what's going on in the news. I'm telling you, here's the news. Pfizer boosters for post 65 people, it's okay. Breaking news. But mostly, hey, get vaxxed. That's the message we need to hear. So, anyway, Facebook. And there was another thing on the New York Times. Battle for users' privacy will transform internet. Hundreds of billions at stake for tech titans and advertisers. This is Brian Chen's work in the New York Times. These are issues that are sort of bubbling up. See, and Brian Chen having written that makes it an Asian American angle. But no, the fact is, the internet has become our life. How do we protect privacy? Here I am, I'm talking willfully about all this. about me, but privacy is an important thing. I don't think anyone thinks about it as much as they should, but it's they're highlighting it top of the fold, New York Times, as an issue. It will be an issue. So, what have we discussed today? We discussed the uh, the threat to our vote. We talked about the recall effort. Do you recall? We did not recall, but we were waiting for Larry Elder to declare everything is rigged. And guess what? Things aren't rigged. So, hello, congratulations to Larry Elder, because the only thing he did was rig it for Newsom by running, because people didn't like Newsom who were going to stay home came to vote. Uh, Moon, Trump, and J6, we talked about that. Donald Trump. Oh, here's the thing about Donald Trump says J6 is going to be a setup. He thinks, oh, only chumps are going to do J6. Because he says they're going to set it up and they're going to, it's set up like sort of like a sting. So I doubt if Donald Trump is going to be in the Washington protest on Saturday. But he was at that Unification Church thing last Saturday, which is why I brought up the Unification Church. In case somehow that slipped my mind, you say, well, why does he mention the Moonies? I know they're Asian American. All right. So that's it. I mean, I was going to talk about this. I was going to talk about bigotry on Broadway. But I realized the thing I'm going to do about this online, we're going to have a special online thing, is going to be next week. Or not next week, but the week after, the 29th on Facebook. So if you go to emilguillermo.media, you can see the information there. And I'll talk about this next week. Bigotry on Broadway, because does anyone really still care about South Pacific, or do you know about, I mean, if you're of a certain age, do you know about South Pacific? But if you're not, what do you know about South Pacific? I was heartened to hear a few months ago when there was an actual protest in New Jersey over South Pacific because of, it's kind of racist. The movie, the play. I know you say, well, they have that song, You Have to Be Carefully Taught. Isn't that non-racist? Yeah, it's kind of racist. And I'll explain next week. But look, now you got the whole week to binge watch all the Emil Guillermo, Emil Amok's Takeout episodes online. You can catch us again on amok.com, right? Or on emilguillermo.media or on YouTube. Not all of them will be on YouTube, but they are available on my Emil Guillermo YouTube channel. Read my columns on the ALDEF site, aaldef.org/blog. If you're reading it, I was telling people who are reading it in the Boston area that I talked about Michelle Wu on shows 137 and 136. And I think Michelle Wu, and this is like, I know she was on the council, she was the president of the council. I just think young Michelle Wu at 36 has the potential for being the next generation of Boston politician. The Boston politicians aren't Irish or Italian. They're Asian American, like Michelle Wu, who grew up in Chicago, not Massachusetts. So, but here's another Massachusetts person who's in politics. Same pedigree, Harvard Law, Harvard College, David Chu. But he's in the assembly in California. David Chu, person I worked with 21 years ago, I worked with David when he was not in politics. He shifted to politics, and look at him now. Really a stalwart assemblyman in California. Well, first he was supervisor, ran for mayor, didn't get lost to Ed Lee. Then he's been in the assembly, and I don't want to say he's stalled, but the pathway for David and some other Asian Americans is kind of limited in California. I mean, especially if you see where an Asian American like John Chung, what happened to John Chung? I mean, you don't hear much about John Chung. And for a while, it looked like he was the leading person for governor. Then he got kind of eclipsed by everybody. Gavin Newsom needed a job. Kamala Harris needed a job. I remember Chung actively campaigning for Kamala Harris for her Senate race. And then, you know, I thought, oh, that's going to be a good connection. Maybe good news for John Chung. Didn't exactly work out. Anyway, went on a tangent there. Sorry about that. But Michelle Wu, next generation in Massachusetts, Senate, Congress, governor, Asian American female. You think about him. Uh, let's see. I know I was talking about him the other day. Tammy Duckworth. I remember I saw Tammy Duckworth in 2008. Was it 2000? Yeah, 2008 at the Democratic Convention. I was covering that. Man, great speaker. 2008, 13 years later in the Senate. And I turned to my friend and I said, she's going places. And he said, yeah, I'm voting for her. He was from Illinois, my friend. He said, I'm voting for her in my state. So I think I recognize political talent. Well, she's out there, Michelle Wu. All right, that's it in the Lanyap section, the personal section. I would be remiss if I didn't say happy anniversary to my wife, Kathy. Oh my God. We've been married more than 30 years. Someone told me that, birds, their only purpose for birds is to mate. They find their mate and they just glom onto each other and that's it. And then when you take them apart, they cry and they squeal like birds. This woman was telling me about how birds react, which is why you should never have birds. Birds are not domesticated. Parakeets, cockatiels, all the bad idea. It's done by this industry that should never really be in existence, but there they are. But don't play into that. That's in an upcoming PETA podcast. Anyway, so I was thinking about that. Birds, they meet, they stay together, boom, they're together. So we've been together more than 30 years. Happy anniversary to my wife. God, I remember too. The one thing I remember, we were in Lake Tahoe. We got married in Lake Tahoe, and our photographer didn't show up. No, that wasn't even the funniest part. The funniest part was the chapel where we were supposed to get married in was condemned that morning. So when the chapel is condemned that morning, my goodness, that's an omen. Like you're not supposed to be married more than 30 years. Anyway, happy anniversary to my lovely wife. That's our lanyap for today. We're going to end this back again on Monday. Let's try to have some equanimity about all the stuff that is going to be happening over the weekend. The J6, the insurrectionists are going to get together. Let them speak, let them do their thing. Let's let them, First Amendment being what it is. But the moment they step out of line, let's hope the authorities, the DC cops, the Capitol cops are ready to uphold law and order. We need that because we know that justice for J6, you mean the insurrectionists? Yeah, they should all get at least 2-3 years, maybe more if they did something really serious. But treasonous acts, they need justice. So, but let's like I said, show some loving kindness toward all. It mutes the amokness. And look, I'm telling you, meditation has helped me see the other side and be slightly more reasonable. Slightly. So, may you live in safety. May you live with health. May you be happy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time, Monday. We'll be here Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, live. Or maybe I'll pop up and do a replay sometime. Just check on the Facebook. Till next time. Mahal.